Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Junia Doan. I'm pleased that you could join me today for this episode of Junia Doan's The Spark with my multifaceted guest, Wendi Dwyer. Wendi is the manager of personal giving at the Leader Dogs for the Blind and the co-founder and former executive director of the nonprofit organization Lost Boys Rebuilding South Sudan. Welcome, Wendi. Wendi, tell us a little bit about Leader Dogs for the Blind.
Oh, thank you for asking. I came to Leader Dogs for the Blind as a client. I'm losing my sight due to retinitis pigmentosa, and I want to stay independent and vibrant in the world. So I needed to gain some skills to be able to navigate and travel safely, independently. I was first started to use a white cane, and I did that for about 2 years. And then I wanted to learn how to use a guide dog. So I did a thorough research into all the guide dog associations, and I chose Leader Dogs because they'd been doing it for 80 years. And I felt like that was a pretty darn good track record. And then on top of it, if you start with Leader Dogs, and you're a client of Leader Dogs, you can continue to have a guide dog as long throughout your life. And I feel like I want to be vibrant and live my life to the last day of my life. And I didn't want to be left out when I was done working. And some of the guide dog associations, you may not get a guide dog after a certain age. And so with Leader Dogs, I knew I would have a dog throughout my life. So that's why I chose Leader Dogs. And so I came as a client, and I was just so moved by how a guide dog changed my life. I was expecting to be safer and less dependent on others by having a guide dog. But as it turned out, the biggest gift I got was less discouragement, because it's very hard to be blind in a sighted world. People aren't always that patient or kind to you. And then on top of it, sight loss, anyone who's experiencing any type of continual loss where you're losing a sense you need for survival, is really hard on your mental health. And I was so surprised by how much my relationship with my guide dog improved my self-image and my mental health. So really, I say it's the 4 Ds of blindness. The ones you think of right away with a guide dog is danger and dependency, but the two other ones that my guide dog Lily, my Leader dog, made the biggest impact was discouragement and depression. So those are the 4 Ds of blindness to me, would be danger, dependency, discouragement, depression, and the big D, the dog, really helped to alleviate a lot of that in my life. So that's how I came to Leader Dogs. But I'm a development professional, and I was actually working for PBS Wisconsin, and I was recruited by Leader Dogs to join their philanthropy team. So now my job is to help raise money to provide services to people like myself, which is great because my life goal is to get more of us out there and independent and visible in the world. So using a guide dog or a sight cane, which is another service we provide, is helping people learn how to use a white cane. This job is perfect. It aligns with my life mission, which is really to improve the lives of people with low or no vision.
How does your dog, is it the company of the dog of Lily, or does Lily sense your moods and therefore you are discouraged or just not energy filled? What does she do or not do?
That is such a good question. So she does sense my tone of voice, and so I would say, like, if she feels that I'm stressed, a lot of times if we're sitting down, she'll push right into me, which is awesome. Also, she's just beautiful and has a beautiful disposition that, I can just reach down and pet her and just feel like we're fine. We're in this together, because really no human can get between me and my blindness journey. So no matter how much my sister loves me or my best friend Margot loves me, they can't really get between me and my blindness. They might try, and my kids, they might try to alleviate some of my hardship. But with Lily and I, we are together 24/7. We're navigating. She keeps me safe. I'm the most important thing in the world to my dog, which really helps me feel like I won't get lost or forgotten, or something I see, she has her eyes on it. So it greatly improves my sense of being in the world. So I guess that's the biggest part of it. Using a white cane is great, and anyone with low or no vision that needs help to navigate safely, I strongly encourage starting with a white cane. But it was a different experience. I felt people didn't approach me as much. I would also hear sometimes people say, "Oh," or they'd say, "You can do it," and it's like, of course I can. I'm a strong, bold woman in the world, of course I can do it. But I just felt that it sort of separated me, and having a guide dog has actually, I think it elevates my mood, and people interact with me more. So that's what I would say.
Safely.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
definitely.
really wonderful. But if Lily gets sick, how do you know it unless you hear it?
Yeah, you know what? If anything is different about Lily, I know it immediately, because we're right together all the time. So if she's even sluggish, I know it. I mean, I know it's sort of weird. This is going to sound odd, but I almost feel, as a guide dog user, you're so in touch with your guide dog. I know, I even know when she's thirsty. I mean, I stop to give her water when I can tell, I feel like she is thirsty. So when we're traveling, we're so in sync that she doesn't eat or drink right, so many hours before we get on a plane, so that she won't have an accident. I stop eating and drinking at the same time. I just feel like I'm so grateful for her and her service. I don't want to be um eating and drinking when she can't. So it's like kind of like with your kids, you just know what they need and when they need it. And so yeah, I would know when she's sick.
That is just a good thing. And that is a good thing. I do, but it's a Labrador, isn't it? That's what they usually use,
Yes,
or not?
yes. She's a yellow
But
lab.
they need to run, don't they? How does she get exercise?
Well, I'm really fortunate. I have a big lawn out front, so she runs all the time. I even during my work day, I just open up my door, we go outside and throw the frisbee. And we also, I don't drive. I haven't driven in 12 years. So to anybody listening, if you can't drive, don't your life is not over. You can make this work. But I always live somewhere with a high walking score, so that I can go to the grocery store, the library, to go out to see friends. I live by fun places to be. So I walk about 10,000 steps a day. So my dog is never without exercise. And so she's the perfect guide dog for me. She was almost let go from the program because she walks so fast, and she was pulling, a lot on the trainers. And then it turns out I'm just a super fast walker. So she's perfect for me, and she's never not ready to go. And I'm kind of a high energy person. So we're good partners for each other.
Perfect. What adjustments do they ask you to make in your life or living as you take the dog into your life?
So this is a long process. Before you can get a guide dog at Leader Dogs for the Blind, you do need to be able to navigate safely with a white cane. So we offer white cane training. We will send the client to our facility in Rochester Hills, and they have a whole week long of immersive O&M, orientation and mobility. And so that person is already learning to listen for traffic and how to navigate safely on their own. And once they have those skills, they can apply for a guide dog. And in that process, there's a lot of things to think about. A guide dog isn't a robot. It's not a GPS. It is a responsibility. So there's a whole list of things to think about, and then you send in a video of your lifestyle and your white cane skills and your medical records showing that you have incurable blindness, and let's see, 8 letters of character references. Luckily I got them. I hope I
It
lived up
isn't
to
funny, but it's funny. I'm glad they're so thorough. Have you
So you
found your, yeah, go ahead.
And then you go once a dog. So the dogs are paired with the client. So not every guide dog would work with every client. So I needed a fast-paced, smaller dog because I travel a lot. I fly a lot. I speak all over. I will meet with the donor anytime, anywhere, and I love what I do. So I needed a dog that could travel well. And I also had requested wanted a yellow lab because I can't see very well at all to distinguish. I had a black lab at first. We had my first guide dog got changed to another owner because he actually walked too slow for me. And he is a black lab and he was beautiful, but I couldn't find his eyes because I couldn't see the contrast between his black fur and his black eyes. And so with Lily, I wanted to be able to bond with my dog with the sight I have remaining. Eventually I probably won't be able to see that, but I really wanted to have that bonding experience. So she's a yellow lab that walks fast and she's small and she travels beautifully. If we get on a plane, the person next to us generally doesn't even know that the person right next to us can see her because her head's on my feet. But the next person who gets in a lot of times can't even see that there's a dog there. So she'll just go down, lay down, and she doesn't take up any extra space. So it's quite amazing.
She lays under the seat.
She puts her butt under the seat in front of me, like you'd put your bag there. And then she puts her front paws on either side of my feet and then puts her head on my feet. It's like the most beautiful. Yeah. And she falls asleep.
Do they tell you that your other senses would get more acute as your vision decreases?
That's a good question. I hear that all the time from people. I would say I would love to think that, but that's not really true. You just use them more. So I use my hearing to be able to cross streets, and I did that for a long time before I had Lily. So I pay attention a lot. I know where everything is because I leave my phone in the same place, my keys in the same place. So it's not that my brain I'm remembering things any better. It's just I have to use it more. And so that's how that works. And then my hearing, I just have to rely on it more. So I have to really, I think it's just paying attention and using, I don't know. I wanted to think that they got better and then I could be a world-class sommelier because my taste would be heightened. So if anyone's out there to train a blind woman to be a sommelier, I'm up for it. So I just thought it would give me a little air of, mystery or something. So
I think it's amazing. When I met you, thanks to our mutual friend, I was impressed that you're sort of working for the opportunity to build a house of your own with the latest of blind sensitive features. Where are you with that?
Well, I have a white paper and I have been talking to sponsors. There are people who are very interested in this. And the reason it's sort of unique, I have progressive blindness. So what I want to do sooner than later is build the most like accessible, and the home would be built so you could be completely independent as a person with low or no vision. So the idea is, we have smart appliances now. Everything can be activated through your voice. Anything you're going to buy, I would suggest get it so that it's a smart printer, a smart microwave, a smart stove, thermostat. So all those things are available. The idea of the house is that the lighting and the functions would improve your independence. And so many people think about aging when it comes to mobility. Are the doorways wide enough? Is the bathroom accessible? But really, a lot of blindness is age related, and there's decisions you can make that will help you live independently longer. And so, what I'd like to do is create this house. So, even the gardening would be set up so that you could do that independently. Um, just absolutely. I mean, I have such a long list. I could bore anybody to death unless they're interested in working on this house with me, and I will bore them to death. They will love the ideas. And also a list of technology that already exists, along with things that should exist. So that kind of makes it an idea generator house. But the important
Love
part
it.
about it is keeping the data. So we have all these things, and then we have uh, architects who are promoting products and houses, which is great. But the thing that we really need is someone to say, how many times did they use it? And how did it improve their independence? How much time did it save you? That way we know where you'd want to put that money. Not everyone's going to have the money to choose all of these choices, right? Which ones are most important? Which ones made the biggest impact on your independence? And so that's what I'd like to do, is to collect the data, anecdotal, and then also physical data, and then also generate ideas. And the other idea is that I'm very, very social, which probably isn't a surprise to anybody who's listening to us right now, Junia, because we just met and I could spend weeks with you if you'd let me.
Right.
I
You
love
do
time
have
with
that ability. You had a life before this problem arose in your life. Tell us a little bit about your interest in South Sudan and the problems they face.
Well, okay, so this is interesting. I'm so fortunate. I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, and I started working with refugees from Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam in high school. So I had this wonderful serendipitous experience. I just happened to be in a class, and two young girls showed up in my journalism class, and they seemed sort of disconnected. They were definitely from someplace else. I didn't know anything about Laos, Cambodia, or Vietnam at the time, or what was happening. And but I thought, wow, if I was alone and I didn't know anybody, I would want someone to reach out to me. So I just moved my desk over by them and showed them where we were in the book. And then I drew a smiley face at the top of the paper and then kind of smiled at them, and they both laughed. And then at the end of that class, I was walking out, and my teacher asked if I would be interested in doing tutoring for ESL and literacy, because we had unaccompanied minors. These would be refugees without parents. And I
Yes.
said, oh, I'd love to do that if it's with these two young women, because I already felt a bond with them. And I said, as long as it's with them. And then I learned their names were Cam and Ping. And we just did rudimentary ESL lessons and some literacy lessons. It was all laid out in a folder. I mean, I didn't have to learn. I didn't have to know anything. I just had to show up and do what the program said, and it was fun. And we grew close, and they started speaking English, and then I started to learn more about their experience, and it kind of changed the course of my life. I was probably about 16 then, and it has completely changed. That awesome meeting of Cam and Ping has changed my entire life, because I learned they had lost everything. Their parents had sold absolutely everything to get them on a boat to come to the United States. And then their parents probably lost their lives shortly after. They were trying to save their daughters' lives. And then the daughters, they were fleeing the genocide in Laos. They were from their Laotian from Laos. And they got to the United States. So here were kids my age who had lost absolutely everything, and they were still coming to school every day and eager to learn. And that kind of gave me the resilience that I have for any challenge. You don't get to choose your challenges or your blessings, but you can make the most of all of them if you know that. And that's kind of what the beginning of working with refugees taught me. So I started with Cam and Ping, and then I was a school teacher, and I kind of had my eyes out for any parents that seemed like they were left out, maybe newly arrived Americans that were not sure about parent-teacher conferences or art shows or a performance at school. And I'd reach out and say, hey, I'll meet you there, and meet them at the door and just kind of be a welcoming person. And then that led me to do a community art project with refugees in a community called Aurora, Illinois. And that project caught the attention of Ginger Palm, who is the executive director of Kenya Children's Fund. And she heard about it and she said, hey, I would love something like this for my students in Kenya. She ran a school. Kenya Children's Fund has an amazing elementary and high school in the Dandora slum in Nairobi. And she wanted her kids to tell their stories through art. So I told her, oh, this is how I did it. And I wrote out the lesson plan. And she said, no, I would like it if you did it. Could you come and do it? So I went to Nairobi that's my first time to Africa, and just absolutely fell in love with the students and the school and the community. And then when I returned, a friend of mine went to the airport to pick up a family of refugees from South Sudan, and 2 families got off the plane. And she called, she said, we have 2 families and only 1 home, and we're wondering. And I said, send them over. And that was how our family got involved with the South Sudanese diaspora community. So people who have fled the genocide of South Sudan. So I've been doing that since 2005. And how much do you want to know, Junia? So do you want me to speed this up?
I'm thinking of doing a second session on that.
So this is where it gets fun. The family that came could not have been more perfectly matched with my family at the time. The little boys, they were 4 and 6 at the time. Their names were Bill Clinton Wendi and Nelson Mandela Wendi, and their mom is Lucy Wendi, and their dad is Bulis Wendi. And Bulis and Lucy could not have been more than probably 23 and 24 at the time. And the little boys were 4 and 6, and all of them had lived through the most horrific, things you can imagine, and ended up at our house. And the little boys, when they were going to get on the plane, did not have shoes. So somebody just grabbed shoes out of a shoebox and put on these huge, I mean, they were gigantic men's black leather shoes, and put them on the boys' feet. And so when I saw them, there was skinny little legs with big, black leather men's worn out shoes. I mean, gosh, you just had to say, wow. So they came to our house, and they spent their first about 2 weeks in the United States at our house, learning about electricity and flush toilets and traffic and strangers and, just life. And it was a great experience for my kids, because they were seeing their life through the eyes of people who were really, really appreciative. And my kids are awesome, but it was a good way for them to kind of understand the rich life that we experience in the United States. So
what did you learn?
Oh my gosh. I really it's kind of that was a continuation of what I've been learning since I was 16, that resiliency is everything. If you lose hope, you lose everything. That you can connect. Caring is connecting, and it's just I just learned so much. I guess from Lucy, I learned a lot because I started to realize how vulnerable you are if you're denied education. So, all as Lucy and I grew closer, that's their mom. Um, when she started to speak English, that's when we started to really understand each other, and I learned a lot. About how vulnerable you are if you can't read or write. I mean, it's really, if you can't read or write, you are a sitting duck for any bad person. So, yeah, so that he lit the fire in me to really help raise the literacy rate in South Sudan. So, that personal relationship is how I became involved in creating a literacy program for women and girls in the country of South Sudan. And it's called Literacy at the Well. And it started from working with a group of lost boys in the Chicago area to help them build a school. They had a dream of bringing an elementary school to an area that did not have any schools. And we did it very quickly. I'm a good fundraiser. They have the world's best story, most charming young men in the world. And I said, anyone's going to want to hear you speak. And I was right. So we spoke all over, raised enough money to build the school. The school was getting built. And the one thing I had said is I would never, ever go to South Sudan because I knew enough South Sudanese people to know how difficult and dangerous life was there. Also, I read the statistics.
I have to stop you because we're out of time, but I want to summarize. Life is unpredictable, and what you learn by exposure and dedicated to your life before is estimable, and that is resiliency. Keep hope, make relationships, no matter whether you want to do it or not, commit to it. There's wonderfulness in life, but you have to create it. You don't need challenge. You have to face what comes to you in life. So thank you, Drew, and thank everybody for listening. Remember, go out and do something kind for someone you know and someone you don't know, and do it every day. See you next week. Thank you.
Bye, Junie.
To contact Junia, send her an email at juniadonsthespark@gmail.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadonsthespark.com. Thank you for joining us. See you next time on Junia Doan's The Spark.
Local productions seen on Delta College Public Media are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.